Today, I'm going to try to beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Emerald with only randomly generated Pokemon. Now, Emerald is one of my favorite games out of the entire main series, so I thought, why not make this complete madness by randomizing all encounters, but also the Pokemon that every single trainer in the game has, with even the potential of them having legendaries too. I have no idea how this is going to go, but I do know one thing: it's going to be wild and very chaotic, with an added rule for extra difficulty of only 3 encounters per badge. Let's see if we can beat Pokemon Emerald with only the first random Pokemon that we find on each route, no items in battle, level caps in place, and the battle mode on set at all times. Now, although playing Pokemon with random encounters is a lot of fun, when it comes to the new games we play, we want it to have consistent quality. That's why today's video is sponsored by Dragon Mania Legends, a free dragon simulator game that you can play on mobile, tablet, and Windows PC. As Pokemon fans, we love collecting and breeding various monsters, but this game takes it one step further. Enter Dragonlandia and enjoy a dragon fantasy world where you can breed and train more than 1,000 dragons, each one cooler than the other. Settle down in the archipelago, unleash your creativity, and design and decorate your own fantasy islands with special farms where you grow food and habitats. This is something I absolutely love. Being able to create my own land and design it how I want for maximum success is wicked. You can even play with your friends and family to double the fun, or even start a clan or join one for extra power. There are a ton of dragon mating combinations to collect new species and create powerful new hybrids. Raising up your collection through feeding, petting, and training your unique dragons allows them to grow all the way from an egg to a powerful beast. Master their elements, train them, and take part in exciting battles and events and mini-games. Now is an awesome time to join Dragon Mania Legends, since October will bring exciting game updates and events. The more friends you invite and the more you grow your clan, the more powerful you become. Use my link down below and get a free gift of 100k gold, 50k food, and a dragon I specifically picked for you guys to receive. The epic Bluebeard Dragon. One of my favorites, so don't miss out. Alright, let's get the show on the road. Time to dive into the Hoenn region. Oh, damn, boy, how do you know that was one of my favorite Pokemon? The odds of that are astronomical. Hey, why does May get the limited edition orange GameCube at age 10? I wasn't even allowed to have a home console until I was 12. She then says that she forgot she was supposed to catch Pokemon with her dad now, and yeah, your dad's about to die, I hope you know that. Fine, I'll go rescue him. In doing so, Birch offers us one of the Pokemon in his briefcase, all randomized, and we've got Mareep, whoa, Dratini, no, that's not shiny, it's just the Gen 3 sprite, and Geodude. Honestly, Dratini might seem like the go-to, but it doesn't fully evolve until the champion's level cap, so I'm actually gonna opt for Mareep, a Gen 2 classic, who I nicknamed Diona, because I mean, why not? Oh my god, this thing has the Drought ability. An electric type with Drought? It's gonna be the water type's worst nightmare. Not only that, but checking her nature back at the lab, modest, plus special attack and minus attack. This thing is absolutely perfect. The best Mareep ever. Dare I say, the GOAT. Okay, it's a sheep, but you know what, just making our way up to Route 103, we run into a Clamperl. Not exactly what you'd expect from the early routes, but we don't have any Pokeballs yet, just a cool find. At the end of the route stands May for our first rival battle, and lo and behold, she has a Geodude. It didn't even occur to me that she could get this. I mean, I thought it would still be randomized for her too. Uh-oh. And as one might expect, a Mareep with nothing but Tackle, whose Drought ability got cancelled by Geodude's Sandstream apparently, has no hope at all. We can't do like any damage on it, and in fact she started using Defense Curl too, so in the end we only brought her to a third before Diona goes down. And we lose our first attempt. Oh boy. Well, Dratini fans, I guess it's your lucky day, isn't it? I named this one Diana, and she has Oblivious with a quiet plus special attack and minus speed nature. Literally the worst possible for a future Dragonite. Oh, it's gonna be one of those runs, isn't it? Battling May this time means she has our precious Mareep just to add insult to injury, but fortunately, by using Leer to lower her defense combined with her higher level and Wrap for turn-by-turn damage, although somehow we got poisoned by her Poison Point ability mid-battle. What the hell is going on here? Nonetheless, we make it through and actually get to start our run. What a privilege. After getting some Pokeballs from our arch nemesis, we then get granted our first running shoes from our mom. Thanks, Mom. It only took 10 years. Hitting up Route 101 to find our first encounter, it ends up being a Bellsprout. Alright, not bad, I'll take it. I name him Johnny, and he ends up having a Jolly plus speed and minus special attack nature. Normally great for a victory bell, but don't forget Gen 3 doesn't have the physical special split yet, so grass as a whole is a special type, whereas poison is at least physical. And battling the first regular trainer of the game, he has a fully evolved Fearow. Oh boy. Luckily, we do have Thunder Wave, but same type attack bonus Fury attack after he lowered our defense is a huge risk, but thankfully he only lands a 2-hit. Then we land another attack to bring him below half as Fury attack hits again, and he hits 3 times to leave us on just 2 HP. Sheesh. I have to risk the switch here, and he went for Leer on the switch, so a Vine Whip hits him low, and he just goes for Growl, showing us some mercy I guess, but we barely don't get the KO. He then Fury attacks, and it's a 3-hit to bring us below half before we can take that damn thing down. Holy, that's the first battle? I think a rule of thumb is going to be to avoid as many trainers as we can, as we never know what they're going to have. Up on Route 102 we can get another encounter, this time a Loudred. Yes, Exploud is one of my favorites ever. I name him Mike, and he has Cloud 9 to stop any weather, pretty cool, with a mild plus special attack and minus defense nature. With 3 encounters allowed before every gym, we're now cut off for encounters until we beat the first one. At least we do find some Oran berries along the way. Berries aren't randomized fortunately, and it's kinda unfortunate our encounter limit was reached, as I found things like Growlithe and a Sandscream Charizard along the way. I mean, I don't know how helpful that ability is for a Charizard, but still. In the Petalburg Woods there appear to be Duskull, and conveniently enough I also found a spell tag on the ground. With all actual items randomized, every single one is definitely worth picking up. Speaking of which, there was also a Dragon Fang in here to raise the power of Diana's dragon moves. Nice. And in a little hidden pathway, no way, the Choice Band, one of the best items in the entire game this early? Let's go. With that, we arrive in the first gym location, Rustboro City. Ah, such nostalgia being here. And in no time, since you can avoid all the trainers, it's time for our first gym leader challenge against Roxanne. Normally a rock type trainer, but who knows what she has. She ends up leading with a fully evolved Glalie as I sent out our grass type Bellsprout. Oh great, I have to switch, so I go into Mike as our defense gets lowered. She then starts double teaming as I go for Choice Band boosted Pound, which does a third. A couple more hits and she healed, after which we missed, but thankfully she was only able to bring us below half with a few bites, and we took her down with a final pound. Then comes another fully evolved Pokemon, at least in Gen 3, Lickitung. Fearing the crit, I have to switch, so I go into Diana as she uses Defense Curl. Not good, as that thing is already bulky as hell. I paralyze her off the bat and she can't move, and then I go for Wrap, but miss. And she stays paralyzed again before we get it off. It seems her best move against us is Lick, but it gets a crit and paralyzes us. Are you kidding me? Fortunately, Twister is a special move, so we can progressively get more damage off, except she had confused and paralyzed us and used another potion, making this a long struggle, which we survived on 16 HP thanks to a last second flinch from Twister. Her final Pokemon is a Spinda, another fully evolved Mon, and Uproar slams us instantly to just 1 HP in the red. Whoa. Okay, having to switch, but with Mike already weak, I guess it's Johnny's turn. Having paralyzed her, we do outspeed, but Uproar is doing a ton. Although our Oranberry puts us out of range of the KO, fortunately. Vine Whip is not doing enough though, and at 7 HP left, I know I have to switch. Mike gets brought just below half by Feint Attack though, and then lands a pound as I'm hoping she'll stay paralyzed, but nope, she makes it through and KOs Mike. No Exploud, I guess. I then get Johnny out there, but it turns out she had an Oranberry all along. She does stay paralyzed after our next hit, and I am desperately hoping for either a crit or her staying paralyzed, but she doesn't and takes Johnny down too. I then send in Diana, a paralyzed Mon with 1 HP, thinking this is all over. But she stays paralyzed and we don't, so Twister finishes her off for the first badge with 1 HP remaining on our entire team. I don't believe it. I was convinced that we had lost, but okay, on we go I guess. At this point I was of course praying for a good encounter on Route 116, and a good encounter we certainly did get, a Lapras, which I nickname Ella. She does have an Adamant plus attack and minus special attack nature, terrible, and the Stench ability, but I'll take the fully evolved Bulk for sure. The Rust Turf Tunnel also has an encounter for us, giving us an Onix. Not great, but I name him Dan, and he has the Drizzle ability. I mean, maybe we could use that, but it powers up super effective water moves against us too. Dan, Drizzle with a docile neutral nature? Talk about triple D. Our company allows us to make our inspirations into reality. One couldn't ask for a better environment as an engineer. Meanwhile, at Game Freak in the developers' offices, with a badge in hand, we can now head back to Petalburg, and loving Dusclops, I was hoping to get his base form, and we did, a Duskull I named Deborah, and who has a jolly plus speed and minus special attack nature, which is perfect, given that Ghost is physical in this game. Also has inner focus, which means things like Bite can't flinch it. Awesome. With those 3 encounters on the team, we next arrive in Doofer Town where the next gym is, and I make sure to pick up the Silk Scarf to boost normal move power. Wait a minute, I just found a Safari Ball. What happens if you use a Safari Ball outside of the Safari Zone? Well, guess we're gonna have to tackle the next gym before we find out. The second gym leader is Brawly, normally a fighting type specialist. He leads with a fully evolved Tentacruel. They just can't have an unevolved Pokemon, can they? Which immediately confuses Diana off the bat and we hurt ourselves. He then hits a Poison Sting, but no poison, and we make it through to paralyze him. Realizing Ella is a great counter, I switch her in, and he stays paralyzed, allowing us a Body Slam to hit him twice for the KO, only getting hit by Poison Sting in the process. In comes his Pidgeot next, a fairly good matchup for us, although we don't have any ice moves, so I go into an even better one. Dan the Onyx. Dan completely walls Pidgeot in every way, so a few rock throws with the Choice Band gets the job done, taking little damage in the process. His final Pokemon is yet another fully evolved one, Kecleon. And being a normal type means I can stay in safely, or does it, as he whips out a Psybeam, and it doesn't have type change, so Duskull is not a good answer here. Fortunately, Ella is very specially bulky though, and can body slam him 3 times with no paralysis unfortunately, and the last one barely doesn't KO on what must be 1 HP. Then he hits a Stab Fury Swipes, and thank God it was only a 2-hit, as even a 4-hit would have KO'd Ella. Then he heals almost fully as Body Slam hits him to half, and no paralysis again. Oh no. Looking at our team, I have nothing I can safely switch in, as Dan can't do enough damage with Rock Throw and would get KO'd by Psybeam, and Deborah the Duskull has no move that can affect him. So I just have to hope that we get the range, and we don't, but then he just uses Bind to 9 HP. Oh man, I think we've got it, but nope. Another Super Potion, and another 2 hits only bring him to the red with still no paralysis. And we survive on 5 HP and can't switch out even if we wanted to thanks to Bind. Another hit brings him low, no paralysis again, and Ella gets taken down. From there though, Dan does outspeed, we just have to hit the Rock Throw, and we do for the victory, but at a cost. 2 badges down. Crossing the ocean, we make it to Slateport City, now having some encounters opened up, and I decide to use the old rod that we got to fish right here for our next. And it ends up being a fully evolved Feraligatr. Damn, not a bad Lapras replacement honestly. I name him Ben, and he has the Effect Spore ability, amazing, and a naughty plus attack and minus special defense nature, which is pretty darn good. Sending him into battle, oh yeah, I forgot that Gen 3 had that. I never seen a ass like that. Up ahead on Route 110, we can grab another encounter. This time it was a Cacnea that I named Bill, and who has a timid plus speed and minus attack nature. Perfect, as Grass and Dark are both special. Sturdy is trash in Gen 3, but hey, I'll still take it. And I'll also take one of the best items in the game, the leftovers nearby. Wicked. If only we still had Lapras though, that would have been perfect. North on the route we also have the infamous rival battle, but I'm hoping it might not be infamous this time. She leads with a Mantine and I get Bill out there. Checking its level up moves, it shouldn't have any flying moves yet, so this is a perfect opportunity to try out my plan. With the leftovers attached, I use Leech Seed, so we start getting triple recovery with the addition of Absorb after I use Growth a few times while getting recovery to power up our special attack hugely. And although it takes a while, it works quite brilliantly, downing that thing with 3/4 HP left as a Sandstream Wall Rain comes in. These combos are ridiculous. I know she has Ice Ball, but it will be very low power on the first attack, so I stay in just to get the Leech Seed off, and we survive on just 3 HP in the red after Sandstorm before recovery. Closer than I expected. Here, I switch into our newly caught Ben, who's able to activate Effect Spore on the first hit to paralyze. Yes! From there, with the help of Leech Seed, Ben takes her down in a few rages, being left on 14 HP before recovery. In comes her final Pokemon, Flaffy, and we have a perfect switch into the electric move with Dan, who knocks her out with repeated rock throws even though she lowered our attack. Next up, Mauville City where the next gym is, but first, we have to beat Wally to a pulp. And he kept going on about how great his Ralts is, and then sent in a Chinchou? My dude? Are you okay? Going west, we can grab our last encounter before the gym, which ends up being an Ekans that I named Tom, and who has a lonely plus attack and minus defense nature with the color change ability, which could actually be quite helpful. Believe it or not, our very first evolution of the entire run then happens as Tom evolves into a wicked Arbok. With that, let's head to the Mauville gym. The gym leader here is Watson, normally an electric specialist. He leads with a Spinnerack, the game's first instance of going a bit lighter on us, as Tom takes it down in 3 bites, getting 2 flinches in a row. Beautiful. Then comes a Meowth, and I kid you not, we got another bite flinch before he landed a Growl, but Dark is special, so it doesn't affect bite. Next, he has a Snubble, and I missed the glare before he gets a crit bite, which turns us into a Dark type though, so now Tom resists his moves and can smash him with a few more. Then, in comes a fully evolved Steelix. Now that's a threat. But fortunately, we have Ben as our water type counter, not only resisting steel, but doing huge damage with Stab's super effective water gun, taking him down while being taken to just around half along the way. Pretty solid. Let's take a nice breather in Verdanturf Town. I was gonna make a joke about Wally's asthma here, but that's not something to laugh at. After all, the laughing might cause you to go into a coughing fit. Route 112 brings about our next encounter, which is a Zubat. Oh, are you kidding me? Even in a randomizer, we can't escape this thing. Melanie is going straight into the PC. Following that, we have the Fiery Path, where we find... Goodness gracious, a wild Zapdos? Whoa. Okay, well unfortunately we can't use legendaries in this challenge, but that is damn cool to see. Our actual encounter is... no way, a Torkoal? Now that's funny, as you could usually find one in here anyway. In honor of our fallen friend, I name her Ella and progress north to Route 113, where we find... ooh, a Quilava that I catch and nickname Andy. Following that, we arrive in Fall Arbor Town, quite a forgotten place, but there is a move reminder here, and the Fossil Maniac house where we can get a great TM for Dan, Dig. What's this? Oh yeah, we getting lit tonight, boys. Up ahead, we had a crazy battle with a legendary Registeel of all things, but color change came in clutch as you usually resist the moves that are used against your Pokemon. Registeel started using Curse to raise its attack and defense though, but with Glare Paralysis and a bunch of Leers from Tom, followed by Rock Smashes from Dan, we made it happen. As thankfully we have high enough defense of our own combined with the defense drops from some of our attacks. And don't even get me started on double battles with all the varying abilities. Hitting a Crocodile and getting put to sleep because of it is just weird, man. At the summit of Mount Chimney, we have a battle with Team Magma leader Maxie. He leads with a Vaporeon and I got Tom out there. We missed our Glare but got turned into a water type so I could get the Glare off on him afterward. I now feel safe switching into Bill and I can execute Order 66 with our triple recovery strat against him, emerging victorious after like 4 minutes of that. But then he sends in a Blaziken, a wild counter to us. Fortunately, we do have Ben though, although 2 water guns brought him to healing range, all the while he lowered our accuracy and hit us to nearly half with Double Kick. I then land 2 more consecutively to the red, and Double Kick hits us to a quarter. I really don't have a choice though, so I go for another, and we get the job done. Whew. His final Pokemon was then a Rhyhorn, and Water Gun is 4 times super effective on that thing and wins us the battle. Oh, and I actually remembered to get the Meteorite here for the first time ever. Arriving in Lava Ridge Town where the next gym is, we can hit up one of the houses to get the charcoal to power up fire moves, good for 2 of our potential party members. Checking out some of them in the PC, it turns out Zubat is timid with pressure, Torkoal is relaxed, plus defense and minus speed, perfect, with Rockhead, and Quilava has Water Veil, so I think I'm gonna take the Torkoal, replacing Dratini for now as it doesn't evolve before the level cap. The 4th gym leader is Flannery, a fire expert, but let's see what she's got. She gets a bulky as hell Chansey on the field, and I led with her new Ella. We do have Body Slam, and I know she can't hurt us much, so I took the opportunity to load up our attack and defense with Curse before Body Slamming her into oblivion. Although Minimize is never fun to deal with. In comes Vaporeon next, not an ideal matchup, but we sure know how to handle these as Bill comes in with the classic triple threat to take her down with full health left. Her Voltorb and Geodude were then easy pickings after growth special attack raises, and with our newly learned feint attack, so the 4th badge is done and dusted. In the Route 111 desert, I find the Miracle Seed, perfect for Bill, and our next encounter, a Shuckle. Interesting, which I name Becca. Hey, would you look at that? If you've ever had a burning curiosity to know what the roof of the Trainer Hill building looks like, well, there you go. Heading back to Mount Meteor, now that we can grab a Pokemon from it, we run into a Vileplume that I catch and name Tim. And then on Route 114, our final encounter ends up being a Pichu. Cool. I name her Captain and then check them all out in the PC. Turns out they all have neutral natures and kind of terrible abilities too, so I think I'll stick with my current party. While training up for the next gym, our starter Dratini finally evolves into a Dragonair, who I'm gonna replace Duskull with for now. Not only that, but Dan also evolves into a Steelix, thankfully done by Level Up in this game with no trading needed. Back in Petalburg, the 5th gym leader is Norman, the normal specialist, and boy does it ever feel weird knowing he'll likely not have a slacking. No dig strats needed, I guess. He leads with a Silcoon of all things, and I get Ella on the field. Yeah, I don't think Ella's gonna struggle with that too much, especially after learning Flamethrower, and I could load up on curses along the way.
Bye-bye!
Up next is Noctowl, and we burned it on the first hit, giving us just the range to KO on the second. But we were pretty lucky that he missed 2 Hypnosises too. Then in comes Glalie. We finally get to pay this thing back with an ultra-powered Flamethrower, only taking a crunch in the process. And it turns out he has 2 Glalies actually, so Ella completes a full sweep of the gym leader. What a monster. For winning, we get awarded with a Facade TM, and I'm just wondering what that would look like on our Guts Shuckle, who has an attack stat of literally 10. After getting the Surf HM, great for Ben, Wally's dad says, "Wally's coming home soon. I'm looking forward to that." And then his mom says, "Keep this a secret from my husband, but our Wally left Verdanturf Town without telling anyone." You know your husband's right over there, right? You don't think he can hear you? Ooh, the Light Ball. Cool. Doubles Pikachu's special attack in this gen, but the same happened for its attack as well in later gens. Route 115 brings about another encounter, this time a Grovyle that I named Nathan. Back on the Jagged Pass, we can get another, this time a Porygon too. Whoa, now that is cool. I name him Data. Oh man, there's nothing like facing a level 14 Tyranitar. For completing the task in the new Mauville Power Generator area, Watson awards us with a Thunderbolt TM. Much better than having to do the Game Corner method. Oh my god. After 20 years, I just realized he said it's nice to see the young take charge. Get it? In the PC, it turns out Porygon 2 has a neutral nature with white smoke, meaning his stats cannot be lowered. Quite incredible. I'm gonna replace Dragonair as our coverage mon for now. Our last encounter before the next gym comes on Route 109 in the form of a Chansey. Whoa, incredibly bulky, but as those of you who have sought this thing in the Gen 1 Safari Zone know, it is incredibly hard to catch. And I ran out of balls and it was already ending itself with struggle by that point. Yes, I spent that long trying to catch it, so that's a failed encounter. Would have been a good one too. Meeting up with Steven, the stoner, across the river acts as a temporary roadblock to what we really want here, the citrus berries on the tree nearby. Very helpful. On Route 119 we find, oh my, Sacred Ash. Now that's crazy. Anybody got a Ho-Oh around here? Our next task is to tackle the weather instant. Oh, Steelix, would you settle down with the drizzle for 1 second? Now, I was not expecting the Aqua Grunts in here to be a problem, but one whipped out a damn Latios of all things, and our team is not very good against it type-wise. In fact, Dragon Breath smashed Bill to half in 1 hit. Whoa. I have nothing to safely switch in really, and I know I need the damage, so I stay in. And he hit us down to just 6 HP in the red and gets paralysis, but we do land a feint attack and get a crit to the red. Yes. I can then switch in Ben as he actually went for Protect, so a strength from there gets the job done. Crisis averted. Shortly thereafter, we have an awesome evolution as Bill evolves into a Cacturn, getting great bulk for our recovery strat and officially getting the dark typing too. Admin Shelly led with the Hitmontop against him though, so I had to switch. Ella handled it well with a few flamethrowers, and then in came Carvana, so I got Bill back out there for the complete walling and absorb 1-hit KO after a growth power-up. Not too shabby. Before the next city, we run into May for the final necessary rival battle. Let's make it count. She leads with a new Skarmory and I send out Bill. Again, not a great matchup, so I went into Data instead since it's raining, and Data's pretty bulky and powerful, so he eats up Air Cutter and one-hit KOs her with a Thunderbolt from there. Wicked. The leftovers make this nearly impossible for May to win too, as we can fry Smeargle in a couple attacks as well, and then just to play it safe against her Flaffy, I went into our newly evolved Dan, who's immune to or resist all of her attacks and can demolish her with a couple of digs after she lowered her attack. So long, May, you annoying weirdo. With that, we arrive in one of my favorite cities in the entire franchise, Fortree. This is definitely where I'd choose to live in Hoenn if I could. Moving east, we can pick up a wicked item in the Scorched Slab, the Toxic TM. I have some ideas about how this might be handy in the near future. And yet again, the random trainers prove to be threatening as we run into a trainer with a Suicune in the rain. Fortunately, we do have one good counter remaining as Bill was already weak. Data, who cancels out his Leer with White Smoke on the switch, then has super effective Thunderbolt for the 2-hit KO as Bubble Beam did about a third. Data is definitely proving to be quite clutch. Oh no, a Charmander in the rain against a Feraligatr with Surf? Hitting up the 5th gym, the leader here is Winona, the flying type trainer, and her first Pokemon sure does live up to her typing, a damn legendary Articuno of all things. Fortunately, our lead Ben does resist ice, so I stay in and start tagging it with strength. She kept trying to power up and only got one gust off though before we took her down. Then a Skitty. Okay then, what a power differential. It did survive a strength surprisingly and landed a crit feint attack, but there was never any hope for it as we crit it back. And then, okay, a Caterpie. And it survived strength too, with the Silk Scarf attached. What is going on? And we got paralyzed by its ability. Oh man. In comes Ariados next, and we have the perfect counter. Ella, who tanks Leech Life no problem and eviscerates it with Flamethrower. Her final Pokemon is a Swalot, which can be a tanky threat, but again, we have the perfect counter. Dan, who's not only immune to poison, but also has Stab super effective Dig to obliterate that glob of goo. Looking forward, I think I'm going to add Deborah the Duskull to our team in place of Arbok, as I think she'll be more useful. Back on Route 119, we can now grab an encounter, and ours ends up being a Vibrava. Cool. I name him Rick, and then head over to Route 120 where we can get another, which turns out to be... damn it. A Dragonite. If only we could have gotten this before instead of having to wait till level 55. This technically activates Species Clause, so we have to search for another, and it ends up being a Crawdaunt. Not bad, I'll take it as I name her Bam Bam. The final one before the next badge comes on Route 121, and it is a Blissey. Oh man, we've been blessed with a second shot at this evolutionary line, and we do catch it. Nice. I name her Michelle and move on to Mount Pyre. And here I was, all excited to be able to get the Shadow Ball TM, but, oh yeah, the whole randomizer part, as I got a Lucky Egg instead. How ironic after just getting a Blissey. While leaving, my repel wore off and I ran into a wild, mythical Mew. That scared the bejeebers out of me, I'm not gonna lie. This is technically the only game you can find Mew in the wild too, so I guess it checks out. South on Route 123, we can grab a TM I've been waiting for forever. The Giga Drain one, which, yes, is actually Giga Drain as it's given to you by an actual trainer, so no randomizing. Finally, Bill has a better grass attack than 20 power Absorb. Oh, huh. An upgrade. I don't think Data needs that anymore, but thank you, game. Checking the PC, it looks like Crawdaunt has battle armor, meaning he can't get crit, which is fantastic for Nuzlocks, but Blissey ends up being adamant. Not good at all. Moving forward, we have another evolution as Deborah evolves into a Dusclops. Can't get its evolution in this game, nor can it use an Eviolite, and nor does it have Shadow Ball, but it should be good as a bulky ghost type and get Shadow Punch upon evolving at least. In the volcano, we meet Maxie again, who's awakening the legendary Groudon. Or maybe it's a Sunkern, who knows. Regardless, it's time to do battle. And wouldn't you know it, he leads with a mythical Mew. Unreal, as I had led with Deborah. He went for Metronome, which could be quite dangerous, but it just gave him secret power, which we're immune to. With Mew's bulk and him repeatedly healing, it did take a while, but it was ultimately no match for Stab super effective Shadow Punches, even after it transformed into a fellow Dusclops. Then in came Solrock, which is also weak to us, although it did do some damage with Psywave, but it missed its Rock Slide, so we made it through safely. His final Pokemon is Porygon 2, quite a cool team overall, and we have no way of doing damage to it, so I just go for for Confuse Ray off the bat and then switch into Bill. I know one of his moves is Psybeam, so now he can't use it with our Dark typing, and Leech Seed combined with Confusion and our now more powerful Giga Drain get the job done with Bill at full health in the end. Pretty cool. In the Slate port, Archie then jumps into the water with a grunt and wait a minute, it just occurred to me they jumped underwater to get into the submarine. Wouldn't the submarine have to be open and therefore it would be filled with water? Something tells me that might have been the last time we see him. A long trek across the sea has us arrive in the location of the 7th gym, Monotype City. Heading straight for it, we eventually arrive at the gym leaders Tate and Liza, who we have to face in a double battle. They lead with a Snubbull and Hitmonchan, and I get Deborah and Ben out to start off. Essentially what I try to do here is burn the Hitmonchan with Will-O-Wisp and then get double damage off with Ben's Surf. However, we missed the burn twice in a row. No way. This makes me have to switch into Ella as we take the Snubbull down, but since Hitmonchan has regular attack still, a second Sky Uppercut smashes Ben to a third. Given how much Surf was doing and the fact that Hitmonchan has lower defense than special defense, Feraligatr has higher attack than special attack, and has the Silk Scarf, I was like, okay, this'll for sure KO, but Hitmonchan survives on what must be 1 HP and responds with a massive power Sky Uppercut and gets a crit on top of all of that to take Ben down. After the 2 missed burns that would have saved us, I was so mad at this point. That was insanity. Here I get Data out and Ditto transforms into a Torkoal. Not good, but we do paralyze it with Body Slam. They then Hyper Potion Hitmonchan, also not good, as Psybeam only does a third. We finally have a stroke of luck though, as it misses Sky Uppercut on the next turn, so Ella can finish that damn thing off. But then, in comes the legendary Lugia out of nowhere. And Ditto paralyzes Data as well. No! I can't possibly explain the madness that happened here, combined with terrible paralysis luck, both with us staying paralyzed and then not getting paralysis from Body Slam on Lugia. We did get it into the red, but then Ella got paralyzed and it turns out Lugia had a Citrus Berry. It looked to be in range of a Thunderbolt from there though, as both our mons were at half, but it barely survived on like 1 HP yet again and then got healed fully. This might be the end. Several turns later, and both our Pokemon remained paralyzed and got brought incredibly low, so I had to switch. But both our remaining full health Pokemon are weak to their 2 Pokemon. I get Bill and Dan on the field regardless, and at least Dan's Drizzle weakens Firepower. I go for both super effective Feint Attack and Choice Band Rock Throw on Lugia, and it survives on 1 HP again. There's just no way. Then, Bill gets hit by Flamethrower and burned, meaning its leftovers don't do enough to keep it out of KO range, and I have to switch into Deborah. But they Hyper Potion Lugia again. I just can't anymore. I then super effective Shadow Punch and Rock Throw Lugia, and that's not enough either as it survives on a 5th. Then they Hyper Potion again. How many of these do they have? On the next turn, Deborah then gets taken down by a Gust. And I have 0 options left, so I just throw Bill out there. Ditto then starts using Curse as the burn puts Bill in direct range of a KO. Our 3rd loss of this battle. Goodness gracious. But then, Rock Throw brings Lugia to like 1 HP for a 3rd time. I was about to rage quit. I really was. Finally on the next turn, we can take that cursed thing down though. We still have to deal with the powered up Torkoal though, and we do get a crit Body Slam. Then we hit a Rock Throw, and another crit Body Slam to give us some vengeance and win the battle. I have no words, none at all. Our death box in the PC just got a whole lot more crowded. Looking at our options, I'm going to take Crawdaunt, Grovyle, and Pichu with us for some hyper offense as our remaining team definitely has enough bulk. While training up, Nathan the Grovyle fully evolves into a Sceptile, should be great, and Captain also fully evolves into a Raichu as thankfully we had found 2 Thunderstones along the way. The Steven and Maxie double battle then occurred at the space station and honestly they didn't really attack us much. Mostly focused on Steven, and Dan did an incredible job walling almost everything they had thanks to our typing against them, with the end result Hegron and Steelix combo being quite beastly indeed. Our Monotype City encounter itself ended up being a Tentacruel, and our Route 124 encounter was a Kangaskhan. Very cool. I'm a big fan, so I name her Big Mama. Then finally on Route 127 we could pick up a Poliwhirl I named Neeson. Deep in the seafloor cavern, I once again hyped myself up about finally being able to get the Earthquake TM, but oh yeah, Down here we have a battle with Archie, and he led with an Arcanine against Nathan, so not a great matchup. I could switch into Bam Bam for the Surf to KO it though, and then in comes Blastoise. And when I tried to switch into Nathan again, I found out it has Shadow Tag. Ooh. This was actually quite dangerous, but Bam Bam showed her water supremacy even after getting flinched, taking it down in several strengths, being brought just below half in the process. His final Pokemon is an Arbok, and we've got the perfect counter in the form of Dan, who, despite not having Earthquake, still gets the job done with Dig. As it turns out, our Kangaskhan has the Vital Spirit ability, kind of funny as it's like a better version of the ability that it normally gets, Early Bird, and has a jolly plus speed and minus special attack nature, absolutely perfect. Our Tentacruel ends up having Water Veil, which isn't bad. Hey Rayquaza, you want to go out on a date with Dan at some point? Oh.
Hello darkness, my old friend.
In Pacific Lockdown, we can pick up another return TM, fantastic, and very happy that that's not randomized, before Rayquaza then comes in to save the day by quelling the two legendary beasts. Dan's just going nuts right about now seeing this display. It's time for the final gym battle. The 8th gym leader, Juan, normally a water trainer, and he leads with a coughing that gets wiped off the map by a flamethrower from Ella. Then, ironically, he sends out a Pokemon he normally has, Crawdaunt. I can safely switch in Nathan for the instant Leaf Blade KO though. In comes a Skarmory next, and now we have an actual electric type to counter it, Raichu, who avoids Metal Sound and outspeeds with a massive power Thunderbolt KO. And his subsequent Golduck suffers the same fate. Then in comes a Pikachu as his final Mon, for which I send in Dan, the ultimate counter, who obliterates him with a Dig for our 8th and final badge. What's this? There was a party going on the whole time in the basement, and I wasn't invited? I'm offended. Our next few encounters were pretty cool, as we found a Skarmory in the water of Sutopolis, and then... okay, I'm not so cool Silcoon on Route 128, I appropriately named Joker. Then our final encounter of the run in Evergrande City was... a Grumpig. Actually a favorite of mine, but I can understand if y'all think it's a bit memey. To the PC you go, Mel. Oh great, a Skarmory with immunity to poison as its ability. As a steel type. How helpful. Well, we're just about there as we get to Victory Road, and I had a memey idea to take him on. Yup, that's right, I fully EV trained both Becca, our Shuckle, and our Blissey, as I was like, they'll be enough to take on Wally's full team. But as I entered into battle, I felt a tinge of regret. Yup, he leaves with a nightmare for Shuckle, Wailmer. Not only having super effectiveness and Water Pulse Confusion, but also Shadow Tag. So I couldn't even switch into Blissey. Oh no, not like this. What are the odds? And we missed Toxic right off the bat. Why is my life like this? But after getting confused by a third Water Pulse and being brought to just 6 HP in the red by Water Spout, we still get our Bide through, which returns all the damage he had done to us, annihilating his Wailmer. Whew. But then, in comes Pupitar, and I can't switch Blissey into something like Rock Slide, so bye-bye, Becca. We're now stuck with a damn Blissey against nearly his entire team. Fortunately, Ice Beam does one-hit KO Pupitar with a huge special attack investment, then in comes Illumise. And a note here, Encore isn't limited to 3 turns in this gen, and he nailed me with it after I had used Defense Curl to help us out. And he confused us with Flatter. But he made a key mistake, as Flatter raises our special attack. So eventually we got through and nailed him. Then, on his Ninjask, we snapped out of confusion right after he used Swords Dance, thankfully, taking it down as well. And his final Pokemon is an Aggron. And with our massively powered stats, a single Thunderbolt does the job. I can't believe we got through that. Okay, no more memes for the rest of the run. Well, we've arrived. The Hoenn Pokemon League. After fulfilling the rest of our EVs and getting any remaining items and TMs we can find, it's time for the Elite Four. The first Elite Four member is Sydney, normally a Dark-type trainer. He leads with a Diglett and I led with Dan. I immediately switched to Bam Bam given that Dan got the rain up, and tanking 2 Earthquakes lets us one-hit KO it with Surf. In comes Relicanth next, for which I can send in Nathan to take the Yawn and smash it with a 4x damage Leaf Blade. As Nathan falls asleep, he brings in Magcargo, which is easily handled by a pivot back into Bam Bam for the stab, 4x super effective, rain boosted, mystic water boosted, 95 power Surf KO. Oof. Then comes Slowpoke, which got taken down by 2 strengths quite handily, and then in comes Kingdra in the rain. quite terrifying as I get data out there for the tank versus tank showdown. Tri-Attack does really well and paralyzes it exactly as I was hoping, and Leftovers help us tank his attacks brilliantly, so a long back and forth has data emerge victorious. A good start. The second Elite Four member is Phoebe, originally a Ghost-type trainer. She leads with Kecleon as I led with Captain. I hit it with Thunder Wave right away, and I forgot it wouldn't have color change, so I was gonna get Dan in there to finish it off, but instead just nail it with 2 Thunderbolts to knock it out from there. In comes Ludicolo next, who merely used Astonish between our 2 Thunderbolts, which took it out as well. Abra was an easy one-hit KO with the same move, and then in comes Claydol. Definitely not a task for Captain, so I get Bam Bam out there. He did go for 2 Cosmic Powers to raise his bulk substantially, but 2 attacks still got it done surprisingly, as he only hit an Ancient Power. Her final Pokemon is Chimecho, and with part Dark typing, we are quite safe, as 2 returns get the job done combined with her double-edged recoil for our second win. The third Elite Four member is Glacia, the Ice-type specialist. Against her, Caterpie lead, I got Nathan on the field, smushing that bug with Return. Then had a great setup for when her Poliwrath came out with Leaf Blade, but it barely survived and hit us hard with Submission, but the recoil took it down. Then, out of nowhere, in comes the legendary Mewtwo. Holy, I kinda panicked here, but realized that Bam Bam's Dark typing will be really helpful here, as Mewtwo only gets Swift by level up otherwise, which, don't forget, Normal is a physical type in this gen, but it did hit a Future Sight on the Switch. Return does less than half, and we start trading blows with him eventually at a quarter, but then Future Sight comes in and smashes us to 27 HP in the red. Yup, a Psychic move hitting a Dark type. Seems legit. Here I switch into Dan, realizing we at least resist both Normal and Psychic despite the low special defense, and this works out well as we recently learned Crunch for super effective coverage, eventually taking that monster down. Ninjask was then a 4 times damage hit with Rock Throw after we took Future Sight and a Slash. Then her final Pokemon is Persian, with us having the perfect matchup and nailing it with 2 Earthquakes for the win. The last Elite Four member is Drake, normally a Dragon trainer. He leads with a Muck as I got Ella out there. I immediately switch, realizing Minimize is a possibility here, into Dan, who walls him hard. This was just a matter of dealing with the lowered accuracy and repeatedly slamming him with Earthquake until he got knocked out. In comes Diglett next, for which I got Nathan out there to resist the Earthquake and respawn with the Leaf Blade knockout. For Alligator's his next Mon, and Leaf Blade got the clutch crit to destroy him. In comes Shedinja next, a tricky Pokemon, and I was like, oh, I definitely gotta switch, but then, hold on, I kept Pursuit on Nathan. Bam! Now that's a way to deal with him. I knew I kept it for a reason. His final Pokemon then ends up being, whoa, the mythical Celebi. Okay then. Here I sent in Ella, but I forgot that the rain was still going, weakening our flamethrower. Regardless, he ended up going for Perish Song, so ultimately I knew if I just kept this alive I could stall out the 3 turns. And that's exactly what I did, going into our bulkiest bet, Data, dodging them Ancient Power Omni Boosts and just spamming Recover until he took himself out. Huge. Well, it's time. The final battle of the champion of the Hoenn region, Wallace the Water Expert. He leaves with an Arbok, and I led with, well, who else but our captain to lead the way. I paralyzed him off the bat, then hit him with a Thunderbolt, and then he stayed paralyzed so Captain could take him down taking no damage. Sweet. Then in comes Linoon, and knowing it could belly drum and literally sweep through our whole team, ending our hopes and dreams, I go for Brick Break immediately, which barely brings him below half, but thankfully prevents the power up, so another does the job. Then, a mere Totodile gets fried into the netherworld by Thunderbolt, some water expert he is, and then in comes a Pikachu. Well, we surely have an answer for that with Dan delivering a catastrophic Earthquake one-hit KO. And his 4 times weak Lairon suffers the same fate immediately after. Then, his final Pokemon? A Togepi. Oh boy, the game finally gave us a good roll of some sort as Dan delivers the final blow to win us the championship. Now that was a clean sweep. We've won the league, but it's not over yet. One giant challenge remains, one that has thwarted us several times before. Oh hey, wait a minute, our dad is home. Finally, we can have a father figure in a Pokemon game who actually... What? Oh, come on. Checking the PC, it's time to honor our fallen soldiers. Rest in peace, you beautiful souls. And you know what? I think I'm gonna let Data have a rest as well, as I want to give a tribute to our first Mon who made a Hardcore Nuzlocke thumbnail on our channel back when I had no idea what I was doing, Big Mama the Kangaskhan. Reaching deep into Meteor Falls, we come upon a lone figure. That's right, the former champion of Hoenn, Steven Stone. With Big Mama fully trained up, let's see what she can do. Steven leads with a neat arena, and Priority Fake Out does big damage with the flinch. Strength then barely doesn't KO, and we get hit by a flatter to confuse us. Regardless, after a few turns, we're able to take that thing down, having taken less than a third after Leftovers recovery. In comes Whalmer next, meaning I can't switch, but Dizzy Punch hits it to a third, but no confusion, but it just went for Amnesia, so another gets it done. Next up is a Grumpig, and I had taught Big Mama the Shadow Ball TM, which slams it low, and then Psychic hits us hard below half before Leftovers, and another two take it down after he heals. A mere Spinnerack was then of course a one-hit KO, and surprisingly Jigglypuff survived one, but then hit us with Double Edge so it knocked itself out. And in true Friends with Wallace fashion, Steven's final Pokemon is a Cleffa, as Big Mama completes the sweep of a trainer who has ended our run several times. Feels good, man. Well, we did it. We beat a Hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Emerald with only random Pokemon. That was a wild adventure. Many incredibly difficult moments and some unexpected legendaries sure did a number on many of our Pokemon. I think what we'll do in the future is try out a randomizer that guarantees fully evolved Pokemon for all League trainers for extra difficulty. Shout out to a wickedly diverse team on our end though, the coverage was unbeatable. As always, make sure to subscribe to join the Sylph Army, and I'll see you guys next time for another challenge video.